Hey, I'm Stephanie, and welcome to Wine Club. This is a playlist where I drink good wine while I whine about bad books. And today's offender is, unfortunately, A Winter in New York by Josie Silver. So I do want to preface this by saying that I don't hate this, but I didn't love it either. I got this as an add-on to my December Book of the Month box, as this cover is super cute, and I wanted to be less of a Grinch around Christmas. But this just didn't work for me. So warning, there are going to be spoilers in this review, and as I say in all my reviews, this is solely about the book, not about the author as a person. I'm sure she is absolutely lovely, but let's go ahead and see what this book promised. When Iris decides to move to New York City to restart her life, she realizes she underestimated how big the Big Apple really is. All the nostalgic movies set in New York she'd watched with her mom while eating their special secret recipe gelato didn't quite do it justice. But Bobby, Iris's best friend, isn't about to let her hide away. He drags her to a famous autumn street fair in Little Italy, and as they walk among the food stalls, a little family-run gelateria catches her eye. Could it be the same shop that's in an old photo of her mother's? Curious, Iris returns the next day and meets the handsome Gio, who tells her that the shop is in danger of closing. His uncle, sole keeper of their family's gelato recipe, is recuperating from a stroke and can no longer remember it, so they can't make more. When Iris samples the last remaining batch, she realizes that their gelato and her gelato are one and the same. But how can she tell them she knows their secret recipe when she's not sure why Gio's uncle might have given it to her mother in the first place? Iris offers her services to help recreate the flavor and soon finds herself falling for Gio and his family. But when Gio's uncle finally recovers, all the secrets Iris has been keeping threaten to ruin the new life and new love she's been building all winter long. So I actually read this last year, and it was kind of a disappointing final read for December and for the year. Again, I just didn't think this was that great, and I feel really bad for saying that, as this should have been good. It had the right bones, but this ended up being kind of vanilla, which is hilarious, as the majority of the plot hinges on vanilla gelato. Expect to read a lot about gelato, but not really reading about it. It's a central part of the story, but not really explored. I have to say that the title is quite deceiving as well. That's why I expected like a holiday read, but the book starts in September or something. Like, we're a ways into the book, and then it's Halloween, and it ends right around Christmas. That's not really winter, book publishers. Moving on. So if you're not new to my channel, no surprise, I'm not the biggest romance reader. I've said this in other reviews, but I am trying. I'm really trying to give the genre a chance, and this book was not one that was doing any good in changing my mind about them, unfortunately. I found this to be really formulaic, but it also broke the formula at times, but not in a good way, and kind of made it worse. So we find out that Gio's biological dad, Philippe, I would guess Philippe, recognizes Iris and basically tells her to get the F out of her family's business, which he doesn't really have any right to say, but whatever. His brother, Gio's uncle, who raised Gio and dated Iris's mother for like 48 hours, also tells her to get the fuck out of New York entirely. So she writes Gio a letter and then moves into Philippe's storage unit. His storage unit. What? Why? Like, what the hell is this chain of events? Then Gio comes to her rescue and just moves her back into her apartment. What? Why did we waste our time on that? What was that? There was no point. Our leading lady is kind of dumb. Iris just ends up being really annoying. She reads really young, but I think she was supposed to be about my age, so mid-30s. She just acts very childish and is all, "Oh no, what should I do?" Like, I felt like I needed that gif of the genie from Aladdin where it's, "Tell him the truth." Like, my God, a conversation with Geo would solve all of her problems. We find out her mom and his Uncle Santo dated for like 2 days, but apparently were so in love, and he wanted her to stay in New York, but she left with her band to go on tour. So to prove how much he trusted her, he wrote down his family's secret recipe that Viv, Iris's mom, carried around with her and then passed down to Iris. It's not Iris's fault that Santo did this. She could just hand Geo the picture of Santo and the recipe and say it's been with her always, and then they can just figure it out. Like, I think we get a total of 3 chapters from Viv's perspective that show us what happened in the past, but I also didn't really care. Like, we could figure it out in the present. Plus, it just kind of added this creepy factor that I was waiting to find out that, like, Geo and Iris were cousins, or potentially even something closer. I just have to say that Santo kind of sucks in this. He's willing to make his nephew, who is more like a son to him, suffer and send the woman he's dating packing, simply because he doesn't want his family to know that he gave out the secret and dated another woman for a few days before he finally married Maria. Santo was the dick who was already dating Maria when he offered to throw that all away for Viv. Suck it up, man. Deal with the consequences of your choices. And Maria, his wife, seems like a pretty self-confident woman who is old enough to understand that this thing happened 30 years ago. If their marriage can't survive that, Santo only has himself to blame. He tells Iris to leave, and he never apologizes for telling her to go because he's trying to protect himself. Get bent, Santo. The other thing I didn't really love is this book is stretched really thin as Iris just sits there wringing her hands over, "Oh, what should I do about my lies to Geo?" Even the first lie she tells him when they first meet, that her husband is dead, it's something. She could say, "Yes, that was an awful thing to say. I was in a pissy mood and it came out and you were a stranger. I messed up." As soon as Geo told her about his own dead wife, who actually did die, and she didn't confess, I really wanted to reach into the book and strangle Iris. Was it a shitty thing to do to lie about having a dead husband? Yes. In the grand scheme of things, I'm pretty sure he would get over it. And he does by the end. It's just a lot of pointless drama for nothing. This story should not have been as long as it is. It really shouldn't. It's a lot, and I mean a lot, of internal dialogue with Iris wondering, what should she do? Should she tell? Should she not? Maybe she should tell him, but maybe she shouldn't. She's in too deep. Oh no, she should probably tell him. It's just that, all the freaking time. Just tell him. I also wish that Silver had picked a motif or symbol and just kind of stuck with it. We know Iris is a chef. Sounds like she's well trained as well. But we only ever see her making noodles and gelato. You would think food would be how she would think about things. But no, she talks about her like tapestries and her backgrounds and the colors. Okay. Then she's also this great singer, and we focus more on her singing than her cooking. But then she talks about thinking about her life like snapshots or photos or a rom-com. And it's too many things. Pick one thing that she uses to describe her life. Again, cooking was right there, and that would tie her to Geo. Though I do find it hilarious that Silver mentions rom-coms all the time, as this book gave me strong while you were sleeping vibes. And by vibes, I mean it read like some of the scenes were lifted straight from the movie and adapted for the novel. And the characters even say something like, "This is just like a Sandra Bullock movie." And then they mention Speed. I mean, Speed, what a romance. I mean, I guess I would fall in love with Keanu Reeves too. And I do appreciate Silver not being all wink wink, nudge nudge with the readers and then name dropping while you were sleeping. And it did give me a laugh. But there were also a lot of, and by a lot of, too many pop culture references in this that just kind of took me out of the story. So going back to the book feeling a little too long, there's this subplot about Iris's abusive ex that felt like it was just kind of thrown in there. Like, I don't know if this was meant to round out Iris's character more, but it didn't really do much. Like, Iris seems to go from a quivering mess when he just texts her, and then is able to tell him to eat glass at the end, a la David Rose. I didn't get her progression or growth or how she was able to do that. But that's not my biggest problem with this subplot. The ex-boyfriend, Adam, was hilarious. He wasn't supposed to be at all. He is a terrible, terrible person. But he was just so cartoonish in his behavior that it was kind of funny. It was like these scenes were written for children and just over-exaggerated so that they would understand, oh, he's a bad man. He just talks like a supervillain from a kid's Saturday morning cartoon show. I couldn't take him seriously, and again, I just didn't understand the point of him. It was just page filler at the end. Now, I really did enjoy her found family aspect, but I gotta say that read a little awkward when one of the gay characters in the book is all up in Iris's business and guides her and loves her unconditionally when she acts like a prickly hermit at times. Why is he so obsessed with being her friend? Also, as someone who has studied Italian, the translations of some things in this, they kind of bug me. I tried looking it up to see if it was like a regional thing, like maybe they do use this word in Naples compared to some of the places I've traveled, but I didn't really find anything to back that up. I think Silver just didn't ask someone who's fluent in Italian, and not that I'm fluent in Italian, but some of it didn't make sense. Like at the end, Gio ends up calling Iris cuccaino, which pretty much translates to little spoon. So they're the spoons that are served with espresso. Fine, I buy it. Cucchiaio is the word for spoon, and then the suffix ino means smaller. Like tazza is cup, tazzina is little cup. But then Gio is all, I'm gonna call myself grande cuccaino. Big little spoon? Big little spoon my ass. He would just be a cucchiaio to go with her cuccaino. These are the times that maybe just don't use Google Translate. Now, I will say that at least the relationship between Gio and Iris felt really realistic, and I like that it spanned months instead of days, like her mom and Santo's relationship, where they proclaim their love for each other after 24 hours. Like, I could buy Iris and Gio getting together. It made sense. We saw the progression of their relationship. Minus Gio's, like, random, and I do mean random, outbursts near the beginning when he, like, freaks out on Iris for playing the piano with his daughter. And then he texts and apologizes, and it's all fine. Okay. I know I just said I bought their relationship, but I do feel a bit icky about it from Iris's side. Like, she knows that this won't last long term, but doesn't have that conversation with Gio or warn him that she is not looking to get attached before having sex. He needs to know so he can decide if he wants that or can handle the heartbreak later when she ends up leaving. She's holding all the cards, but asking him to bet everything that he's got. So on a positive note, the scene where Philippe gives Iris the photos and newspaper clippings of her mom was really great. I really enjoyed that. I found it really sweet. It was well written and almost made me tear up when Iris talks to her mom through the TV and tells her that she misses her. I can understand that. That felt very real. And the scene where she spreads her mother's ashes, those scenes were really moving. I really do think Silver should maybe focus her work on mother-daughter relationships and coming-of-age stories, as I think she really excelled in that area of writing. I was really moved by those parts. Originally, I was going to give this 3 stars, as I didn't hate it, didn't love it. But the more I thought about it, the more I realized that it's kind of a 2-star read. I finished it because I was stuck in the car for 8 hours, coming home from Christmas, and it probably would have taken me a lot longer to read this if I wasn't confined and had spotty internet. I was often bored in this and kind of tired of Iris and her back and forth on what she should do when she should have done it already. Like, I get it, it's a book, it has to stretch out, but like, my God, just make a decision. In the end, this just wasn't it for me for a Christmas read. It was a bit too twee for my liking, and at the same time, a bit boring and repetitive. So let me know if you read A Winter in New York and what you thought of it, or if you have any recommendations for cute, like, New York holiday stories. I would love to read them. My husband and I went to New York City for Christmas a couple years ago, and we absolutely loved our time there. I think it's a great setting for Christmas. It's so festive, so fun, and I would love to read a really good book about Christmas in New York. Otherwise, thanks for joining me at Wine Club.